Friday again, and we all know what that means. Trish Shrout from Southwest Florida Crimestoppers is joining us here in studio, telling us who we need to be on the lookout for this week. Trish.
Another opportunity to make some money, put some bad guys behind bars. And we're starting off our list this week with a violent repeat offender who was recently added to Crimestoppers' 10 Most Wanted list. U.S. Marshals have been on the hunt for Paul Bahari since last summer, and he's still managing to evade the long arm of the law. This North Fort Myers felon is wanted for the possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, which is just the latest chapter in his ongoing criminal career. Bahari has been committing felony crimes since he was a teenager, booked in both Lee and Collier counties on more than a dozen charges of theft, burglary, battery, trespassing, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He has also recently spent 2 years in prison after being found guilty of dragging a woman out of her tent and down a dirt road, then sexually assaulting her. Detectives think Bahari is still staying close to the area. However, they're willing to go wherever it takes to bring him back into custody. Bahari is 5'8", 180 pounds, and will celebrate his 40th birthday later this month. Next up is a Fort Myers woman who has built a reputation for being a prolific thief in our community for the last 20 years. Police are currently on the hunt for Nia Brown, wanted for violating probation on yet another charge of petty theft. Brown was already on probation for a previous theft charge and was supposed to be staying on the straight and narrow, meaning no breaking the law and definitely no stealing. During a recent trip to Marshall's, though, the 44-year-old simply couldn't help herself and decided to load up on more than a dozen sets of kids' clothes. While she did pay for 1 or 2 items, she simply bagged up the rest and walked out the door. That arrest triggered a new warrant for violating terms of her probation, coupled with the fact that she's completely disappeared from the radar for the last few weeks. To date, Brown has 17 priors between Lee and Charlotte counties for theft, resisting, drugs, and the possession of a weapon by a convicted felon. She's 5'7", 280 pounds with a tattoo of Baby Fat Cat on her right arm, the name John on her right hand, and Jock and Janaya on her neck. Also on the run this week is a guy who got caught in the midst of a scam to steal nearly 250 gallons of diesel fuel. A new warrant for the arrest of Antonio Medina Forte was issued earlier this week after he failed to show backup in court following an arrest for grand theft, fraudulent use of a credit card, and use of a scanning device to defraud. Detectives say Medina Forte rolled up to a truck stop in North Fort Myers in late March and began pumping diesel fuel with a credit card. When his purchase approached the $1,500 mark, loss prevention alerts started going off, prompting an immediate call to ensure that his credit card was legit. As it turns out, the true owner of the card still had possession of the card in Illinois, making the one used by Medina Forte a fraud. Detectives quickly arrived on scene and queried the 38-year-old about his card. He claimed that he was using his own card, which he produced. However, the credit card in his hand didn't match up with the numbers used to pump the diesel. As it turns out, Medina Forte had a history of fraud and ended up his day with a trip to the Lee County Jail, with his truck being seized in the process. He was released a few days later with the promise of showing back up for court last week. However, when a judge called his name on the docket, Medina Forte was nowhere to be found. This Naples felon is 5'9", 175 pounds, and upon his arrest, he will be held without bond. And rounding out our list of lawbreakers is Terry Lee Spearman, a repeat offender with nearly 50 arrests in Lee County alone. Spearman finds himself back on the lam after he chose to bail on a court hearing last week on the heels of a recent arrest for burglary and theft. The victim said someone rummaged through her front porch and stole several items during the overnight hours. When she checked her home security cameras, she showed officers video of a man she recognized as Spearman spending nearly a half hour in the wee hours of the morning going through her belongings and taking what he wanted. They located him later that day and questioned him about the break-in. That's when Spearman said he had no recollection of committing any sort of crime. When officers showed him the video of Spearman at the home wearing the same exact clothing as he was wearing at that very moment, he changed his tune and admitted to the burglary. He spent the next 6 months in lockup and was released with the understanding that he'd be back before a judge this week. But instead of trying to make things right, Spearman has chosen to go on the run. To date, this 54-year-old felon has 49 bookings for the sale and delivery of drugs, theft, dealing in stolen property, aggravated assault, and disorderly intoxication, among other crimes. He's also been sent to prison 6 times for 15 years between Lee and Hillsborough counties. Spearman is 5'9", 180 pounds with multiple tattoos, including Alpha Dog on his left arm, After the Pain on his right arm, and Life inked on his right hand. And as always, if you recognize any of the fugitives we featured here today, you're asked to call the Crimestoppers hotline. That number is 1-800-780-TIPS. All callers will remain anonymous and will be eligible for a cash reward of up to $3,000. You know, these guys are all somewhere hanging around our community. All we need is for somebody to go, I know where that guy is, give us a call, make some cash.
Yeah, just keep your eyes open. You never know. You might run into someone.
Absolutely.
Trish, thank you.
Thanks, guys.